Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this dress here, which I made for my daughter. Now I'll start off by saying that this is an intermediate pattern. Beginners though, feel free to try. I always say I like to hope that I teach well enough that even a beginner can do it. Now it does have some post stitches, front post stitches. It has a reverse single crochet around the top. Lots of shells. Here's the stitch here, if you can see it. And then the nice white edge shell at the bottom. It's actually quite pretty. My daughter is wearing a slip underneath it, which you can find those on Amazon for children. That's where I purchased mine. And now I'll give you a measurement. Now this is made to fit a size 6 in US terms, 6X. That's what size my daughter wears. So, but I'll give you the measurement of, let's see, from the neck down to the bottom of the skirt, counting the shells, is about 20 inches. Okay. Skirt, 16, and yoke would be 4. And then the yoke with the sleeves would be 6. So on average that's about the sizing that it is. Now you can make this to fit a size 4-5 by following the exact same pattern, except use one hook size smaller. Now I don't have any other sizes available. That's it. I don't have any smaller and I don't have any bigger. No adults. That's the only two sizes, 4-5 and then size 6X in US terms. But I did give you the measurements there. So what do you say? You want to go ahead and get started on it? I think it turned out super cool. I'll tell you what, Evelyn kind of had a fit at first that it wasn't pink, but now that it's finished, I'm glad she likes it. Let me move it out of the way. Okay, for this project I use a Lion brand Pima cotton. I did buy this online at Joann's. It is a 100% Pima cotton, medium weight, number 4. Now you don't have to use this yarn. This is a nice, very soft cotton yarn, but any medium weight number 4 will work. Now there are 186 yards per ball, and I went through almost 3. So I'm going to say, 550 yards, something like that, over 4 weight. Or, around that is what it's going to take of your main color. Now the color I have here is called Dragonfly. And then I also used, for the trim, the color Vintage. Probably about 50, 60 yards of that. And now if you want to make it for a size 6X, which is what I did in my video, you're going to want to use the size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. If you want to make it for a size 4/5 US terms, you want to use an I, which is a 5.5mm. You follow the pattern the same, just knock the hook size down, and that should be fine. Remember, no other sizes available. So let's go ahead and get started on this. Okay, so we're going to start off with a chain of 64, and we will be slip stitching into the first stitch to form one large ring. So regardless of what size you're doing, it's still a chain of 64. So once you get your chain of 64 made, we're going to follow it down, all the way down without twisting your chain. And we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch to form a ring. Just like that. All right, now we are going to chain 1. We're going to go back right there where we slip stitched, and we're going to do a single crochet. And now I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch of the chain. Just like this. So round 1 is just 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around your whole ring until we make it back to our starting point. All right, I have made it back around to the end of round 1, and we're going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into our first single crochet, which is right here. We don't go into that chain 1. The chain 1 doesn't count as anything. We're going to go into that first single crochet, and we're going to slip stitch, and you should have a total of 64 stitches. Okay, now round 2, we are going to chain 1, which does not count as a stitch. We're going to work a point. Our yoke is going to be a 4-point yoke. So our first point is going to go right here into the same stitch that we just slip stitched into. And what we're going to do is we're going to work 2 double crochets into that same stitch. So there's 1 and there's 2. Now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to go right back into the same stitch again and work 2 more double crochets. So that is 1 point of our 4-point yoke. That's how the points are made. Now I'm going to work 1 double crochet into the next 15 stitches. Now sometimes this very first stitch gets hidden. Make sure you pull these over and get it, otherwise your count will be wrong. So 1 double into the next 15 stitches. So not counting these stitches that we just did. Okay, the points do not count. So starting with this first stitch, it would be number 1. We want to do 15 in a row. Here's 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I have my 15 double crochets in a row. So now I'm going to work another point into the next stitch. So I'm going to go into the next stitch and I'm going to work 2 double crochets. So there's 1 and there is 2, and I'll work a chain of 2, and I'll work 2 more doubles into that same stitch. Just like that. Now again, I'm going to repeat. I'm going to work 1 double crochet into the next 15 stitches. Starting with this very first one here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I got my 15 stitches again in a row. Now I'm going to make another point in my next stitch. So I will put 2 double crochets, chain of 2, and 2 more doubles into the same stitch. Like that. Again, we're going to repeat it. We're going to put 1 double crochet into the next 15 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I just finished my 15th stitch and I'm going to do my last point, so my 4th one. So in the next stitch I'm going to work 2 doubles, chain of 2, and 2 more doubles, all into that same stitch. Now we're going to finish this round by putting 1 double crochet in the remaining 15 stitches is what you should have left. So 1 double in each of the remaining stitches, and you should have 15 left. All right, I've come to the end, and I want to go ahead and end my round by slip stitching into my first double crochet of my first point there, just like that. And now you should have a total of 76 stitches, and as you can see, it's square. It's going to be square. You might have to pull it out a bit, but it's going to be square. Okay, so why don't we slip stitch 2 times to the beginning of this? We'll start round 2. 2 times to the beginning of our first chain 2. So there's 1 and there's 2. So now we're in the middle of that point, that chain 2 space. We're going to make another point. So we're going to chain 1, which does not count as a stitch. And in this chain 2 space, we will work 2 double crochets. So there's 1 and there's 2, and then we're going to work a chain of 2 and 2 more double crochets, just like that. Now we're going to work some back post double crochet, or some front post double crochets. So we're going to start off by putting a front post double crochet into this first stitch. So we're going to yarn over, go around the post of the stitch, and work a front post double crochet like that. Now the next stitch, we're just going to work a regular double crochet. So we're just going to double crochet into the top of the next stitch. Next stitch, we're going to work a front post double crochet, and then we will work a regular double crochet into the top of the next. And this is what we will repeat until we get to our next chain 2 space, or the next point. Front post double crochet into the next stitch, and a regular double crochet into the top of the next. Front post double, and a regular double. Front post, and a regular double. All the way until we make it to our next chain 2 space. Alright, I've come to my next chain 2 space, and the stitch before the chain 2 space should have been a front post double crochet. Now we're going to work into the chain 2 space, and we're going to work what we always do, 2 double crochets. This will always be what we work into points. Chain 2 and 2 more double crochets. Like that. So we want all 4 sides to match. So since we ended in a front post double crochet here, we have to start with 1 right here. So we'll always end with a front post double crochet before our point, and we'll always start with 1 on the other side. So go ahead and start with a front post double crochet and a regular double crochet into the top of the next. Front post double crochet and a regular double crochet. Front post and a regular. And we're going to repeat this pattern again until we get to our next chain 2 space. Alright, made it to my next chain 2 space. My last stitch was a front post double crochet. So I'm going to go into the chain 2 space, or the point, and work my 2 doubles. Chain 2 and 2 more doubles. Just like that. Now I'm going to repeat what we've been doing all the way around until I make it back to my starting point. So remember, we're going to start off with the front post double, and then we do a regular double. Front post double, regular double, all the way until we get to our next chain 2 space. and then we work our point, which is 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, and then we start off again with the front post double, regular double, front post double, regular double. We're going to do this until we get back to our starting point. All right, I am coming to the end of round 3. My last stitch was the front post double crochet in with the slip stitch into your first double crochet there. Now what we're going to do is for round 4, we're going to repeat what we did on round 3. So we will slip stitch 2 times to our first chain 2 space. So there's 1 and 2. And we will chain 1, and we'll go ahead and go into that space and work our point. So 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 more doubles. And again, we're going to start off with a front post double crochet and a regular double crochet into the next stitch, and front post double into the next. And as you can see, it is a front post double from the previous row, so our post stitches will stay lined up. Regular double crochet into the next, front post double into the next. So all we're doing for round 4 is repeating exactly what we just did for round 3. We're going to do the front post double crochet, regular double crochet repeat until we get to our points of our yoke here, and then that's where we'll put our 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, and then we're just going to continue around doing the same thing we did on round 3. So I'm going to work this. Round 4, repeat what we just did on round 3 until I get back all the way back around to my starting point. Okay, I'm coming to the round 4, 108 stitches now. I'm going to end by slip stitching into my first double crochet. Now we're going to start round 5. Round 5 will be the armhole row. So we're going to do our slip stitch 2 times to our first chain 2 space. Like that. And alright, so I want to chain 1, and working in this chain 2 space, we're going to make the armholes now. I want to work just 2 regular double crochets into it. I don't want to work a complete point, just 2 regular double crochets, just like that. Now, my work is facing me like this. I need to fold it in half this way, like that. Okay, so it's folded like that. I'm going to work a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in this chain 2 space right here, I'll show you one more time. We were like this. I chained 5. I'm going to take my work and fold it this way. And I'm going to be working in this space right here. So I want to go ahead and jump over to it and work 2 double crochets into that chain 2 space. So there's 1 and there's 2, just like that. And now I'm going to do my front post double crochet, back post, or front post double crochet, regular double crochet. So I'm going to start off with a front post double crochet, and then I'll do a regular double crochet, and then a front post double crochet and a regular double crochet. And I want to repeat this until I get to my next chain 2 space. Regular double crochet, front post double crochet, regular double, and front post double. And if you look, you can see we've made 1 armhole. Now I'm going to continue working this until I get to my next chain 2 space. Alright, I've made it over here to my next chain 2 space. My last stitch was a front post double. So I'm just going to go ahead and put 2 regular double crochets in here. And then I'm going to chain 5. And you see how it's folded up still. I'm just going to turn my work a little bit to where this chain 2 is facing me. And I'm going to work 2 double crochets into this chain 2 space. Like that. And that is our second armhole. And now I'm going to continue around doing the same thing. I'm going to start off with a front post. Double crochet. And a regular double crochet. Front post, double crochet, and a regular double crochet all the way until I get back to my starting point. Alright, so I've made it to the end here. Coming to the end around 5. I just ended in a front post double crochet, and I have the 2 stitches here that I started with. So I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into my first double crochet. Should have a total now of 62 stitches. Now that is just counting these stitches across the front here and these stitches across the back. We do not count any of the sleeve stitches. So 62 stitches and then 2 chain 5 spaces is what you'll have. Now we're going to start round 6. We are going to chain 1, go back into that same spot and work a double crochet. And then we're going to work a front post double crochet around the next stitch. And now we're at our 5 chain spaces of the sleeve. We want to work 1 double crochet in each of those chain spaces. So you go into the chain space and double crochet. And you should have 5 because we did 5 chains. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we want to put a front post double crochet into the next stitch like that, and then a regular double crochet into the top of the next, front post double around the next. Remember, we're just keeping the posts lined up, and a regular double, front post double, and regular double. So we're just going to continue doing this. This is round 6 that we're on until we get to our next chain 5 space, which we will do the same. Posts are lined up. Alright, again, I've made it to my next chain 2 space. My last stitch was a front post double crochet. Now I want to put 1 double crochet in each of these chain 5 spaces here. So there's 5. Now we're going to start off by working a front post double crochet into the next stitch and a regular double crochet into the next, and then a front post double and a regular double. And we're just going to continue this front post double, regular double crochet, repeat until we get to the end. Just keeping our post stitches lined up. Alright, I have made it to the end of row 6. My last stitch was a front post double crochet. Go ahead and end by slip stitching into that first double crochet, and now you will have a total of 72 stitches at the end of round 6. So what she looks like. Alright, now we're going to start the skirt. So we are going to round 7, chain 1. We're going to go right back into the same spot that I just slip stitched into, and I'm going to work a shell. A shell is 5 double crochets in the same spot. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to skip 1 stitch, and I'm going to single crochet into the next. So skip and then single, and then I'm going to chain 3. I'm going to skip 1 stitch and shell into the next. So skip that one, and in the next one we put our 5 double crochets. Like that. So that will be what we're going to repeat all the way around. So again, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We will skip 1 stitch and single into the next. And then we will chain 3. And we're going to skip 1 stitch and shell into the next. So 5 doubles again. Then we're going to do it again. We're going to chain 3, skip 1 stitch, single into the next. Chain 3, skip 1 stitch, and shell into the next. So this is what I'm going to repeat for round 7. Chain 3, skip 1, single into the next, chain 3, skip 1, and shell into the next. So I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around until I get back to my starting point. Alright, I've come to the end of round 7. Now you should have 18 shells, and this is how we will end it. I just did a single crochet. I did a shell, a chain 3, a single crochet. I have 1 stitch left to skip, so make sure you chain 3 after that one. After that last single crochet, skip this last stitch and end by slip stitching into your first stitch, first double crochet of your first shell. That'll end round 7. Like I said, 18 shells. Let's move on to round 8. So round 8 and 9 are going to be the repeat rounds for just a little bit. So round 8, we are going to slip stitch 2 times to the middle of our first shell. So there's 1 and there's 2. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to shell right back into that stitch. So 5 double crochets. There's 1, there's 5. Now what we're going to do is these two chain 3 spaces. We're going to go in directly through the first one and single crochet like that. Then we're going to chain 3 and we're going to go directly into the next one just like this and single crochet like that. And then we're going to find the middle of our next shell. So if you skip 2 stitches, skip, the next one will be the middle, and we're going to shell into that. Just like that. And now we're going to repeat that. So right here you got your 2 chain 3 spaces. We're going to go right into the first one, right after this shell. We don't do any chains after this. Go right through it and single crochet. Now we do a chain of 3 and go into the next chain 3 space right through it and single crochet like that. And then we find the middle stitch of our next shell. So if you count over, skip 2, the third one will be the middle, and do a shell. And that's the repeat now for round 8. Again, we will single crochet into our next chain 3 space, chain 3, single crochet into our next chain 3 space, and shell into the middle of our next shell. So I'm going to repeat this pattern that we're doing right now all the way around until I get back to my starting point. Alright, I'm coming to the end of round 8. I did my last single crochet here in this chain 3 space, and now I'm going to end. I'm not going to chain after it by slip stitching into my first double crochet of my first shell, and you'll have 18 shells still. You always have 18 shells, just like that. And now we'll start round 9. Now round 9 is very, very similar to round 7. What we're going to do though is we are going to slip stitch 2 times to the middle of our first shell. Chain 1 and go ahead and shell right back into that same spot. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. Now what we're going to do is we are going to work a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to single crochet into this chain 3 space right here, and then we're going to chain 3. And now we are going to shell in the middle of this shell right here. Like that. So that's kind of what it starts to look like. Let's go ahead and repeat that again. So we chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to single crochet into this chain 3 space right here, and then we're going to chain 3 again, and then we will shell into the middle of the next shell. Like that. Again, chain 3, single crochet into this chain 3 space, chain 3, and shell into the middle of the next shell. So that's the repeat now for round 9. Chain 3, single crochet into middle of the chain space, chain 3, and shell into the middle of the next shell. Like that. We're going to keep repeating that all the way around. All right, I've come to the end of round 9, and I did a single crochet there into that chain space. I chained 3. I'm going to end by slip stitching into my first double crochet of my first shell. 18 shells still at the end of round 9. So we're going to repeat round 8 and 9 until we get a total of 12 rounds. So it'll actually be 6 rounds of shells. So I'm on round 9. I'm getting ready to start round 10, which would be a repeat of round 8. So round 10 would be you slip stitch 2 times to the middle of your first shell, chain 1, go right back into it and shell, so 5 doubles. Like that. And now we're going to be working in these chain spaces. So we're going to go directly into the first chain space, single crochet, chain 3, and in the next chain 3 space, single crochet. And in the next shell, we work the middle of it, we work a shell. So for round 10, we're repeating what we did on round 8. Now we want to repeat rounds 8 and 9 for a total of 12 rounds. And that is 12 complete. I mean, that's starting from row 1 up here. So all the way down to 12. So you, like I said, you'll actually have 6 rows of shells. And then I will meet back up with you at the end of round 12. Okay, I have made it to the end of round 12. Now remember, that is starting from round 1 all the way down is round 12. So you'll have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 set of shells. They actually look like kind of like circles, don't they? Well, anyways, now we're still doing the same thing, except for we're just going to increase the shell size. So for rounds 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, we're going to do them, we're going to increase the shell size. So the only difference is it's the same pattern, but instead of doing 5 double crochets for our shell, we're now going to do 7. So we're going to slip stitch 2 times, just like normal. We're on round 13 now. Chain 1. Now normally we would do 5 double crochets here. This is the only difference between these rows and the previous rows. We're going to do 7 double crochets now instead of 5. This will make the dress flare out a little bit more. 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. And the rest of the pattern is the same as it was before. So I'm going to chain 3, single crochet into this chain 3 space, chain 3, and in the middle of this shell I'm going to do a shell of 7 double crochets now. So that's the only difference. See, that's just gonna make it flare out a little bit more. So we're on round 13 right now, or yeah, round 13. We're still repeating rows 8 and 9, but instead of doing 5 double crochets for our shells, we're now doing 7. Now when you start the round of 7 double, you have 7 shell double crochet, you will have to do one more slip stitch. So instead of 2, it's going to be 3 to get you to the center. That's the only difference. Just like that. And that'll bring you to the center of the 7 shells. Everything else is the same. So 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 are all going to be done with 7 double crochets as our shells. Everything else is the same, except for we went from 5 to 7. So go ahead and keep doing the pattern the same, making your shells 7 instead of 5 until you finish out round 18. Right, once you get your 18 rows done, now that's 18, remember, starting from row 1 all the way down. So you should have a total of 12 rows of shells now. Now we're going to increase again. We're doing the same thing, except for we're making our shells 9 double crochets as opposed to 7. So we had 6 rows of shells that were 5 double crochets, 6 rows of shells that were 7 double crochets. I'm trying to find my in here. And now we're going to do 6 rows of shells that are 9 double crochets. So it's getting wider at the bottom. So I already did 1. So what you would do now, we're doing everything the same that we did before, but now we're going to be slip stitching 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, as opposed to 3, which we did when we had 7 shells. Remember, I already did 1 row of 9, so this is 9 shells here. And then it's just the same thing. Chain 1, and you work 9 double crochets. It's 9 double crochets there, not 9 shells, I'm sorry. 9 doubles, and everything else is the same. All the chain spaces are the same. Everything is the same, except for the amount of shells have grown to 9 as opposed to 7, which we did before. My hook's the same size, I just lost my other one. So, here we go. So, we just continue along. Now, doing the same thing as we did. 9 shells now instead of 7. We're going to do it for 6 more rounds. So, rounds 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24 are all going to be 9 shells, or 9 double crochets in each cell. So that's what we're going to do now. And then after that, we'll do an edging. So how's that sound? So we did 6 rows of shells that had 5 double crochets, 6 rows of shells that had 7 double crochets, and now we're going to do 6 more rows of shells that have 9 double crochets as the shell. Everything else, all the chain spaces in between, are all the same. We do not change them at all. So I'm going to get going. I'm going to finish out my 6 rows of 6 rows made with the 9 double crochets for the shell, and then I'll meet back up with you. All right, I have made it. Finished round 24 of the dress, and that is starting from round 1 all the way down would be round 24, or you'll have 18 rows of shells, however you want to count it. Okay, round 25. You guys ready for this? I'm going to put an edge on it, but first the edging is going to consist of 2 rows. Okay, just a second, I came undone here. Okay, so I ended my round 24 here by slip stitching into my shell, just like normal. Okay, so I want to start by getting into the middle of that shell, so I'm going to slip stitch 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now I'm in the middle of that shell. What I'm going to do is chain 1. I want to go back into that shell and put a single crochet. That. Now I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to come right here into this next chain space, and I'm going to put a V stitch. So I'm going to double crochet, chain 1, go back in it again, and double crochet. So that is going to be my V stitch. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to find the center of this shell and single crochet. There we go. And that's what I'm going to repeat all the way around now for round 25. Again, I will chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Right here in this chain space, I'm going to do a V stitch. So I'm going to go right through this chain space, and I'm going to work a double crochet, chain 1, and then another double crochet. There's my V stitch. Now I'm going to chain 3, and then I'm going to find the center of this shell, which is actually the 5th stitch, and single crochet, just like that. And this is what I'm going to do all the way around. Again, I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. V stitch right here into this chain 3 space. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet is our V stitch. I'm going to chain 3 and single crochet into the middle of our next shell. Just like that. So that's the pattern I'm going to repeat now for round 25. This is kind of just leveling the playing field at the bottom, and then I'll do one final edging stitch in white. So I'm going to continue around repeating this pattern. Chain 3 right here in this chain space. I'm going to do a V stitch. So double, chain 1, double, chain 3, and single into the middle of this shell. Just like that. So I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around until I get back to my starting point. Alright, I'm coming to the end of round 25. Did my V stitch there. Chained 3. Now I'm going to end by slip stitching into my first single crochet that I made, and then I'm going to clip my yarn, tie this off, clip it, and you'll have 18 V stitches and 18 single crochets at the end of that round. Okay, one more round on the skirt here. Okay, I'm going to bring in some white. Actually, it's not really white, it's off-white, I guess. But alright, so you want to start, you can start anywhere. Just kind of where you left off. Let me find out where I left off. Somewhere near that section. Let me get it set up here to where you can see what I'm doing better. Now, this is going to be the final round. Round 26. So I just stopped here. I'm going to go ahead and start right back there where I just ended. I'm going to pull my yarn through, and I'm going to chain 1. Now that chain 1 is going to count as a slip stitch. Now I'm going to be working my shells in the V stitches this time. So I'm going to yarn over, I'm not going to chain, go into here, and I'm going to start double crocheting. you want to do a total of 13 double crochets. Big old shell, isn't it? That's the monster shell. Just like that. Now I'm going to go to my next single crochet right here on top of this shell. I'm going to slip stitch right into it. Just like that. Here we go. That's it. That's what we're going to do all the way around. You ready? We're going to jump to the next V-stitch, and we're going to do our super duper extra large shell of 13 double crochets into the V-stitch. Slide them over if you need to. Now we're going to jump over here to that next single crochet and slip stitch into it. So that's it. That's what we're going to do. It's probably going to become kind of roughly. Well, that's okay. So I'm going to keep working this pattern all the way around. Just 13 double crochets into each one of these V-stitches, and then you just slip stitch into the single crochet of the next shell until you get back to your starting point. Alright, come to the end of round 26. And I just did my last shell, and I'm going to end by slip stitching into that chain one, or just in that same space as that single crochet there would be fine. Just slip stitch into that, tie that off. 18 shells on that round, and that will complete the skirt of the dress. Now, hey, we're almost finished. Almost finished. Now, I'm going to go around the neckline a little bit and clean it up, and then we can call it a day. So I'm going to start in the back here. I'm just saying the back is where let's see, I don't know, I guess it's kind of the side. You just start whatever side you want to start on, doesn't matter. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my main color, which is my bluish green color here, and I'm going to start. You can start anywhere you want, but all I'm going to do is put one single crochet in every stitch all the way around like this. So up around the all the way around like this, up around the sleeve, back around, up the sleeve, and then back where you started. Just one in every stitch. So just go ahead and start off in any stitch that you choose. Chain one and a single crochet back into that same stitch. We have the right, make sure you have the right side of your work facing you. See how my posts are facing me? That way the stitches are on the right side. And now I'm going to work around, putting one single crochet in every stitch. Try to hide that tail as I go underneath my stitches. Now I'm going to show you what you do when you get up here to where points are. You don't really do anything different. There's no extra stitches. You just continue going around. Shouldn't be any break. See, here's where the point started. there's no difference here. You just continue putting one single crochet in every stitch, because we started out with that row of single crochet. So I'm going to work my way around the whole collar and up around the top of the sleeves until I make it back to my starting point. One single in every stitch. And clean up that edge. Nice. Alright, I've made it back to my starting point, and I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into my first single crochet. You should have 64 stitches, because that's what we started with. So go ahead and tie that off, and I'm going to go around with a row of white. So go ahead and clip that off. Okay, so I'm going to take my other color, color B. I'm going to start somewhere around the same spot. I'm going to be working a reverse single crochet now. Otherwise known, some people call it a crab stitch. I always call it just a reverse single. It's not hard to do once you get to going on it. All it is a single crochet, but we're going to be working it in the opposite direction as we just worked this single crochet. So just start somewhere around here where you ended off in any stitch. So I'm going to go into this stitch, chain one. Now I'm going to go back into the same stitch and start out with a single crochet, regular single crochet. Now remember, we're going to be working the reverse single in the opposite direction, so we're going to be working this way. So what I'm going to do is go into the next stitch, it's not hard, and just single crochet. Just like that. It's real easy once you get the hang of it. Go into the next stitch. It seems a little awkward at first, but really it's not. And single crochet. Next stitch, go into it, single crochet. See that? Next stitch, go into it, and a single crochet. And as you can see what it's doing, it's just kind of making like a little loop around, kind of added detail. Now if you're not comfortable doing the reverse single crochet, you can just do another round of single crochet in your color B, or another one in the color A if you prefer just regular, if you have trouble doing the reverse. But it just, once you get the hang of it, it's real easy. You just go right in and single crochet. We're just working from the opposite direction, but it's just a simple single crochet. So I am going to do this reverse single all the way around until I get back to my starting point. So it looking all twisted up like that, that's normal. That's how it's supposed to look. It's just the way it looks. So I'm going to continue that until I get back here again. Alright, once you make it back around, you want to go ahead and slip stitch into this first single crochet that we made, and you should have 64 stitches. If you don't, it's okay. Somewhere close to that is fine. I don't think anybody's going to come up and count. If they do, that would be weird. So it is a little difficult to get in that first single crochet to slip stitch. I got it. I got it. That's it, guys. Now what we need to do is hide any remaining tails that we have. Now remember, if you could not get that reverse single crochet down, doing regular single crochet would be fine. So I'm going to take a moment. I'm not going to do anything on the sleeves. You can go single crochet around them if you want in the white, whatever color you want. I'm going to leave them be. So I'm finished, other than hiding some tails. So I'll be right back. Alright, I am finished with the dress. What do you guys think? I think it turned out cute. I guess the question is, will my daughter like it? I sure hope so, or I'll never hear the end of it. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed my tutorial. I hope you were able to follow along okay. Now, if you make this or anything else from any of my tutorials, I would love to see a picture of it. You follow me on Instagram and tag me there. You can follow me on Facebook, show me there. I'll put links to all that stuff below in the description box. I'm going to put a playlist of all my tutorials over there on the right hand side. Hundreds of them. If you haven't seen them. Check them out. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe. Thanks everybody. Have a good day.